Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Roosters on Olentangy River Road. It's Monday. It's Lettermen Live. We're talking about the Buckeyes. Anthony Schlegel, the difference down there. Justin Zwick and Evan Spencer.
We got.
It's a bare-bones crew. I thought we were going to have to just
Bring it
blow
in.
it up.
Sorry, it's just us today, Austin. You got to just deal with us.
Well, I think I just needed to narrow the focus.
Mozzarella sticks
is so important. We just eliminate distractions.
Fair.
You know what? That's smart.
Get back to 3 of the originals and get with Lettermen Live.
Love it.
Dig into the $2 mozzarella sticks.
Dude, make it holla.
$2 Tuesdays. Those are coming
Flex
up.
is already one or
It's
two.
appetizer Tuesdays.
I don't know how they do it, but they're so good.
Yeah, they are. They're fire.
I mean, it's made with love.
Yep.
That must be what it is.
It's a fun, casual join. It's time for a fun, casual conversation. Ohio State did not play on Saturday, as you guys might be aware. So we can't give our players of the week or any Buckeye leaves to start it off because Maryland elected not to play. I know that Schlegel has some thoughts on that, but
you like those thoughts that I put out there?
Yeah.
Did you like those?
Yeah. Is
it real?
It's real.
I'm going to have to go look it up of what I said.
At least
I've been there before way too many times.
The interesting part is that it got to Saturday, and the Big Ten had never said, you know what, if another cancellation happens, you could play another Big Ten team.
How about that?
Like, if they had actually voted on that, I think it was like 11 days ago.
Well, they said it was on the 5th, right?
Yeah.
Is when they passed it.
I didn't get a
until Saturday.
I
It
didn't
came
get a
out.
press release 11 days ago that could happen.
It's insane, right?
I don't think Nebraska got any warning on that, but it wouldn't have impacted anything for Saturday. It's not.
No.
Ohio State couldn't have played Alabama.
Right.
But it is. We were talking about this on Thursday night at Weekend Kickoff, Schlegs, that if Ohio State's starting to count the games and the number you can miss to still win the Big Ten championship or compete for it, that's a useful tool that Ohio State now has in reserve in case another cancellation. So that's why I know people are worried. Well, Indiana, maybe they should just protect their undefeated record.
Right, for
well,
sure.
that wouldn't work.
Right.
You're not really going to be able to do that.
Well,
Wouldn't that be cool if they tried that? We're going to cancel this game this week. And next.
But Tom,
We can save our win percentage a little bit.
I got a cough.
we already
Don't
talked
give me a
about
PCR. I'm good.
Yeah, we already talked about Tom Allen. Tom Allen wants to play these type of games because it's a once in a 3-decade type opportunity. You beat Penn State, you beat Michigan, you beat Michigan State all in the same year. Last time you beat Ohio State, was it in 88?
87, 88.
87, 88, right? All those guys together. I mean, they have an opportunity of having the greatest year in program history. He's not going to do anything to deter that. So I found my tweet. I said, did Maryland even do the follow-up PCR test? There was nothing that came out from the Big Ten saying, we saw, again, why would you say that? Well, because Ohio State was transparent and said, hey, Justin Hillard, right, had a false negative, and he did the follow-up PCR test, and it turned out to be a false positive, and so therefore he was able to go on the trip, but he couldn't play in the game. And they laid that out there for him. And
he was actually on the trip, right?
Yeah, so the fact that they never followed up, and again, this goes back to the fact that you are allowed to cancel a game without following the protocols that everybody agreed to, that the Big Ten has in place. And I told the Big Ten I want my money back from having to dissect green, yellow, and red of what the running tally was, et cetera, because it made no sense. But they definitely didn't meet the threshold of 7.5. Was that one day? The answer is no. It was over several days, but there's no way you're even close. And then Boise State had a game where they played with 14 guys that were on the list, and people were like, well, why can they do that? Is it safe to do so? Yeah, for us, we have the antigen test. So before you become contagious, you're supposedly taking this antigen testing that says, okay, you're going to be out. Boom, PCR test. Yep, you got it. You're out. You can't give it to anybody. That kind of is the point. But now you have teams that are able to cancel a game without meeting the threat. Why do we even have them in the first place if that was the case? And we also remember back that Maryland was one of those teams that didn't even want to participate in the first place. So all that summation together, that's what happened. And it cost the Buckeyes the game. And the beauty is, I'm going to say this as a positive and a negative, the Big Ten said that they could do that and play another team if both of their games are canceled.
Yep.
The first to do it was the Pac-12.
Yeah.
And that was, you know what, though? So, hey, you didn't come up with the idea. The Pac-12 did. At least you said, you know what, that's a really good idea. You probably didn't think of it yourself because you didn't have a whiteboard. That's neither here nor there. But at least I'm happy that you adapted and said, should that arise.
When was the last time the Big Ten had an idea that you thought was good, Schlegel? I mean, that's because
going back to Delaney days, I feel like.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not into it enough.
And even then, probably not.
But this year, it's been one after another. So your point is fair. At least you give them credit that they recognized the only way to keep this situation where your two best teams, Wisconsin and Ohio State, which are clearly the class of this league, and you want them to play on December 19th, then you can't let that cancellation number drop. You can't let Indiana or Michigan State or Illinois or even the Wolverines at this point on December 12th say, you know what, we're feeling a little sick, and you guys are out of luck. We're not going to go take that beating. I mean, I'm not saying that most competitors would think that way.
Sets a dangerous precedent,
but
though.
Maryland at least gave you the idea.
They already did.
I mean, you look at Michigan, the way their season is going, the way that game just went Saturday against Wisconsin, it's going to be that much worse when they come, or when it comes to December 12th. I mean, why wouldn't they say, gosh, we've had enough embarrassment. We can't do this game.
It's kind of like that thing. Like, once the bell's rung, you can't unring the bell, right? And then you start looking at it, and you're like, oh, shit, well, Michigan's already looking like they're throwing in the towel. You know, you got other teams that are trying to be competitive, trying to build a culture, but, they're a few chess pieces short. And then you start thinking about, maybe.
I think the Big Ten should almost came out and said, you can't do this. Like, we set this number, or we set this stuff up before the season, before we all agreed to come back and try this thing. You're not there. You got to play. I'm sorry.
AZ, I'm sure that they didn't think that teams would want to do that. Like, everyone was fighting. Not everyone. Most teams were fighting to play. And you college football players want to play. I don't think anyone thought in their mind, what if you could gain
we'd have to worry about this
by not playing?
Right.
I don't think they
especially for a Maryland team that has, they were moving and trending in the right direction, right?
They're 2-1.
They had a couple games where they looked like they could, all right, they got a quarterback. They got some, playmakers. Yeah. Why stop yourself, right? I know you're about to lose, but you could have still got something out of that game to help those guys get some experience and keep that train rolling a little bit.
The power of it didn't happen, right? So if you look at who's getting the break speed off them in recruiting, it's Maryland. We're going in there. Larry Johnson has his way with whoever he wants in that area. Ohio State does in general, right? So again.
Yeah, but doesn't that give recruiting more saying – Maryland doesn't even want to. They don't even want to play football. Yeah, remember back then they didn't even want to play us.
Maybe
you should come to. We want you. You should come to our team. Because
the guy says, I could see that, right? Like we could have got him, right? If you think about what they could do, they only have Indiana on their schedule, and I believe it's in 2 weeks. That could potentially be a loss. So you could finish your year. Better to finish your year, 6-1 than 5-3. Sure. I don't know. I'm just saying.
They're probably looking at teams like Indiana as well and saying, oh, well, okay, they got their couple big-time wins, and they're riding off momentum, and they're probably going to get a couple of recruits, looking out a year or so. So,
Yeah, but Indiana is also a team I feel like is further along than what a Maryland or Rutgers, right?
But if you want to jumpstart yourself,
you
need
no
models,
doubt.
right?
I think Indiana has been there. They're 4-0 now. That's big time for them so far this year.
It's taking Tom Allen some time. Yeah. Like every time you come into a program like that, like he's had to build the culture from the ground level. I believe this is his 4th year now, correct? Because his first.
Well, don't take away what Kevin Wilson did when he was there, right?
Yeah. Because he had a really
he had the offense going. He had it
defensively. It's a whole different story. But,
yes.
But
that momentum I feel like of getting playmakers and getting an offense that was scoring points and doing some stuff. I think that's kind of started. When we came here, I wasn't not happy. Because I'm like, this guy throws the ball around. These offenses are awesome at Indiana. Yeah. Imagine what he can do with all this.
Lattimore got drafted in the first round as a receiver from that offense and played out in Denver. And I didn't have the best NFL career.
Yeah,
it's a different story. But at the end of the day,
Maryland's also had talent. But again, you don't break through in those type of teams unless you have everything that goes with it. Like we see what Northwestern does. Yep. Northwestern is Northwestern. It's about every 3 or 4 years they have a season just like we're seeing, right? And it all stems upon, do they have a quarterback? And they normally play really good defense. The problem with Indiana in the past has been they haven't played really good defense. They're playing better defense this year, and they have a quarterback that is athletic. Most of the time those guys are just in the pocket and they're throwing it around. Yeah. He at least has the ability as a dual threat to run and throw. So they have a little bit more weapons. They're veteran. And that's the kind of program you're going to have. Michigan State is in the same boat. The problem is a lot of the times people want to think that everybody's better than they actually are. The answer is there's only one school in the Big Ten that is perennial every single year, and that is Ohio State, even with Wisconsin. Wisconsin was kind of on the cusp, but they always lacked the number one position of which you have to have, which is the quarterback position. So they finally went out and got this Mertz kid out of Kansas, I believe, right? Comes from a very athletic family who can spin it. Their number one guy goes down. He steps in and is playing phenomenal. Yep. And we always know they can be able to run the ball, but they can never throw it. Like there was, hey, we're going to force you and stop the run, let our DBs play man-to-man. and we're going to have a field day. That's what we saw in the Big Ten Championship. So I think it takes time. And there's been talent from Maryland. They've had a lot of dudes, but the problem is they can never overcome the hump. Just like when we played back then, it was Michigan State. Michigan State would habitually, and Minnesota, 5-0, 6-0, boom. Later on in the season, tank job. Not because of any fault of their own. They just didn't know how to do it, right? It wasn't part of their DNA, which is different. So it takes some time. Loxley is in his second year. But again, I just think this entire deal, when you don't have transparency, when you give autonomy to the programs to close their doors, that's just wrong, man. I mean, because it hurts the guys here, and why we all take offense to it is that if this was Ohio State would have played the game. Yep. I truly believe if this was Indiana would have played the game, regardless of if they're going to get their face pounded or not. If this was Northwestern or Iowa, they would be playing 100%. But now you gave them the autonomy to go shut their doors without following any type of protocols. What type of backbone do you have, Big Ten?
The problem is going to come if they are able to play on Saturday.
Well,
and if that,
I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you.
Well, it was a funny thing how the coach before even Saturday was talking about next week.
Yeah. Bro,
like you just canceled a game.
Yeah. They're playing
you're
Saturday.
getting there. Yeah.
They're playing Saturday, bro.
I'm
telling you.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Like
he comes out and says we're excited about Michigan State. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, we're not even on Saturday, or you were supposed to be playing.
If it was an outbreak, we've seen that with other teams.
I'm telling you, bro.
Texas A&M and Ole Miss already was canceled by the time we filmed this on a Monday. So if you've got that going around, you're not going to stop it by checking into the hotel from Wednesday to Monday.
I'm telling you, bro.
There's no way. There's no way.
It's interesting,
Hey,
right?
and it came out on Wednesday, right? Normally you should be at Tuesday. Like, you'll know the rolling average.
Tuesday.
Like, then it goes back to the question, because they said 7 days.
Yeah.
7-day average.
So did they have some guys that were positive that they played? Were they sitting? Again, we don't know because there's no transparency. Nobody put that in the book to where. Now, I don't care if we see it in the media, but they should at least know. The Big Ten should know who their guys are as a form of
contact tracing.
Or contact tracing and standards, because you're like, okay, you just put a guy, like, what a bad look would that be? Not even bad look, but unsafe look. Hey, you just put a guy out there that you said was COVID positive because we get the test results, and now he's playing versus Penn State. You're putting all those people in jeopardy. Right. Shame on you. But there is no consistency or standard for them to be able to do that. And again, we heard crickets from the Big Ten because it was Fulbright. The commissioner of the Big Ten doesn't want to talk.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, he doesn't want to be on the record having a stance. Aggressive,
exactly.
At the end of the day.
He ain't aggressive, man. He's soft. I talked about courage today. Yeah. I should have brought him up. Lack of courage.
But, I mean, you look at that
drop your sack and attack.
Wisconsin-Illinois game.
Commissioner.
I remember Lovey and them were saying after that game they were worried about Wisconsin having put some dudes out there that had it and gave it to them. Right, they were looking at what their next couple weeks looked like.
That's real.
Oh, you know what I mean? So
21-day protocol, right? Where all these – okay, man, you just said you had 20 – I mean, again, this goes –
here we go.
You had 27 cases, right? That's what they said. Jeez. And yet –
the math doesn't add up
every single one of those dudes. So basically what you're telling me is every single 27 of those cats got it on Friday.
On the exact same day, yeah.
On Friday.
Yep.
I mean, again.
That also is not even what they said when it initially happened. Like, we don't have to go out and relitigate everything.
I'm not relitigating.
the math
I can't even think about it.
No, your point is correct. The math doesn't work for what Wisconsin put out there.
I did take a lot of engineering classes at the Air Force Academy, so I know a little bit of math.
Yeah.
They don't let you in there if you can't.
Right.
If you can't learn.
It's real talk.
If you can't learn.
Jay-Z,
that's why I came to Ohio State.
You gone.
They thought we could teach this one.
Put that one in a bracket.
And then they're just like,
save it.
He's a wild man.
Take him. We can't even put you in the business school, so we're going to send you to consumer affairs.
He keeps just banging his head into a locker. We don't.
We don't know. We can't stop this. Yeah.
Big dumb animal. This guy right here.
So, Jay-Z, you brought up the Tom Allen deal. We should probably talk about this big game. It's for the Big Ten.
Big game, baby.
Championship. I will follow up on that point that Kevin Wilson also hired Tom Allen, so he does deserve more credit for what's been going on there. He helped build it. He didn't, and he passed the baton, and Allen's done a great job. I think he's got a good mentality. He's supposed to be this defensive guru, and he's giving up 50 points a game to Ohio State. That's one reason why I have a hard time getting worked up for this particular week.
Yeah.
You guys can take it from there.
But, okay, so he's giving up 50 points a game to Ohio State.
Everybody does.
At the end of the day, so does everybody in the Big Ten, right? But
Michigan has done that, right?
They would strive for that.
Ultimately
69
they were 50. They want more of the games,
right?
like Schlegel's talking about, where they get their face beat in 50 points so that they can learn and hopefully make it like 40 or make it 35. And, by the grace of God, they get a couple flea flickers. And, oh, by the way, it's a game in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, it adds up. But at the end of the day, they're saying, hey, I got to build a culture. I got to build a program. Let's start with, we're going to pride ourselves on defense. They got a couple big backs. They got some O-line that can move some people now. Now let's control the football, right? Now we got this wild card quarterback that can back there and do anything that you want to. Now you can start putting defenses in some binds. And, if you've started off with a base of defense, it at least allows you to play, right? It at least allows you to compete in some of those biggest and most important games. So we'll see. I don't know. But, the 50-point target would probably be what I would put us in this game, because I feel like we like to answer this bell so many times, right? Like, another big team knocking the door in the Big Ten. We're great. We're doing all these other things. Yeah, we talk about it being Indiana, this, that, and the other. But, think of a game in the Big Ten like this that, in recent moments where we haven't stepped up to the plate to make that national image heard, really.
I think you guys have been a part of this, obviously, that I think Ohio State players embrace that opportunity when somebody thinks that they're going to take the next step. They know the Buckeyes have always held themselves as a standard. That goes back a long time now. And if somebody thinks that they can take that, that's going to not play very well in the Woody this week. Yeah. Indiana, okay, Michigan and Penn State, good for you. This is different. And I think that's a part of the mentality that you guys all help build and create.
Like the Michigan State game when we won the national championship, right? Like they're the next big thing, right? They were rated higher than us. We sucked because we lost to Virginia Tech apparently, and all these other things. But think about that kind of mentality. That wasn't just because my recruiting class was there. Like these guys set that precedent. Those guys set that precedent. So it's something that like we were talking about. Culture kind of drives a lot of the success that we see here. And other teams like Indiana are trying to mimic it. But, at the end of the day, that's what I put my chips on, and so are a lot of Buckeye fans.
Yeah, I think the defensive side of things at Indiana is more of a what's easier to recruit? Get guys who want to score a bunch of points, and it's fun, come play basketball and turf with us at Indiana, right? I think that's just the easiest way to maybe – I don't want to say change your program, but maybe put your program on the right path.
Yeah.
Where it's like, all right, well, we might not be able to stop these guys, but we know in the history of Ohio State, Indiana, that we're not going to stop them. Yeah. We got to be able to score with them. So maybe that's their mindset saying, this is what we have. These are the athletes that we have to deal with. Our offense is better. We're going to try and just outscore people. And, that's kind of what it looks like they've been able to do this year. Coming down to the overtime in Penn State and whatnot. But, he took over a program that was moving forward. He's just kind of continuing to do his thing. And I love the guy. I think he is not somebody, like Schlegel said, who would run from this game. I think he wants to be in this game to show his program what it takes.
Yeah, he wants to show his guys that –
like, hey, we've had a great start to the year, but the
juice is worth
is where we need to get to because Ohio State is
Right.
Yeah, if you aspire to be here, this is what all the work is for. It's for you to set yourself up so that you can have an opportunity to be 4-0 and play a 3-0 Ohio State
top 10 game against Ohio State,
on the big new kickoff. Something of which that they have never had since 1969, where they've been ranked in the top 10. Yeah. And now you have this matchup with Ohio State, and this is why you come here. This is why we recruited you. Then the difference between a Maryland and an Indiana and a Purdue and those type of middle-of-the-road schools, and I'm throwing Maryland in there because they can recruit talent. They're trying to do some things in the facility. It's beautiful. They absolutely blew it up. The guy who owns Under Armour donated hundreds of millions of dollars. It is fantastic at what they're trying to do, trying to keep those D.C. area kids there. They want to keep the talent home, and then they got to develop them. You look at Indiana, Purdue, and what they're trying to recruit against. Obviously, Northwestern's there in their facilities. The programs that are trying to make the come up are the ones that are investing back into their programs. The ones that are not, that's why they're at the bottom, right? Unfortunately, for this year, it's Penn State and Michigan. It's crazy talk. But that being said, I digress. To what you guys were talking about, I think that it goes to what are we, what is our identity? And I think that Tom Allen liked that from Coach Wilson because it always gives you an opportunity to score against the premise of what do we get at Northwestern, because you also got to look at the type of kid that can go to your school, right? So if it's offensively, we want to be able to score. We definitely need a dual threat quarterback. We need to run with tempo, et cetera, et cetera. But then here's also our fit. The hardest thing that I find coaches doing in recruiting, just like any type of job, when you under recruit, meaning you just go after the stars as opposed to the fit, you're going to fail. right? Just like in business, if I go after whoever the recruiter put in front of me because this is a great candidate, but yet they don't fit into my scheme and what I do, you're going to fail because you've lost too many times on those recruits. You look at right now in the NFL, offensive tackle from the Green Bay Packers. Corey Lindsey was a third-round pick. This guy was a fourth-round pick. He just signed the biggest contract in the NFL history for an offensive lineman. Right? I forget his last name. It starts with a B. Anyways.
Oh, yeah.
But,
Bakhtiari or whatever?
Yeah, Bakhtiari. But they're not missing on draft picks, right? And we talked about a little bit how Belichick missed on some draft picks like later in the rounds. Where are they? So just like in college, when they go recruit, he's looking specifically, and Mark Mantoni talks about it all the time, it's culture over talent. So if I have this culture established, I got people that buy in. When they come on campus, you guys, we're all hosting kids like, yeah, this guy really fits into our culture. Let's bring him in. And he checks the box that he fits into the identity of what we do offensively and defensively. Now you got something to develop and work with. And that's what I think he's been able to do well in his 4 years at Indiana.
And I think he's also looking forward because of the conversations that he's having with the media saying, hey, I want to see a great defense. I want to see a stout, linebacking core, right? Is he seeing it right now? Maybe not.
It's a measuring stick.
Exactly, right? Because if I go set that precedent out there and then we go compete in a game like this, and then after the season's over, I get to go in some, kid's house and talk to his mom and dad, I can look his dad in the face and say, you know what? We're going to fight. Because that's the way, you saw it, right? This is what we're going to do.
And they say, you know what? I need your son because we're this close.
Right.
Right?
Is that how
we played in the 21?
That's what I'm going to ask. Is that that close?
No, it could be that close in that game.
It could be.
But it's also understanding who you are, right? Like, meaning, right, 2004, this is real talk. In 2004, Urban won, at Utah, right? They were in the Mountain West, I believe. Yep. All right, we played Utah. I kind of jokingly with him, help him get that job because my freshman year versus Utah, I stopped the dude on the fourth line to end the game. We beat Utah. My sophomore year at Utah, we were down by whatever, and I had a monster game. I don't know, anyways. And then they fired that guy.
I don't know. I had a monster game.
And then Urban comes in, right? So you're welcome, Coach Meyer. Anyways, that being said, those type of teams were close because that year I think they competed in a big-time bowl game and won. I totally forget. But anyways, they're this close. Like sometimes their problem is they don't have the depth. They got the dudes, right? We saw it in UCF in the undefeated season. Yep. They got dudes, they got weapons, but they don't have the depth. And when you lose one or two key personnel at key positions, you then no longer can compete at that level. And sometimes in the Big Ten, the middle-of-the-road team that stays healthy can be there and catch a guy slipping on that whatever Saturday that is. Yep. So when he's saying, is it that close? No, it's like this close, right? However, in that particular game, dude, we were this close. Yep. Right? It was a 17-point game, but if we went this way or this way, and we had your son,
right,
and the time to develop him and what he would do for our program, like they're going to sell that, like different value proposition when you come to Ohio State when we talk to you, right? But it gives them something like we were there, we competed, I know exactly where we are, and your son is one of the missing pieces.
All right, let's talk more about that when we take a
Sorry,
break.
I mean the sub.
And eat some more Italian subs,
okay.
Mozzarella sticks.
They're Appetizer Tuesday.
$2 on Tuesdays.
Come on. Lettermen Live.
Appetizer Tuesday. Appetizer Tuesday.
Rolling along. We'll be right back with Lettermen.
Roosters is one of the unique companies that we deal with. They're involved in everything we do, from our personal foundation to also the Cancer Research Fund. And that's from the Buckeye Cruise from Cancer to all the events leading up to the Buckeye Cruise.
They donate back to different organizations that are near and dear to their heart. And we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long, long time.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Poof, we're back.
Oh, we're back.
Hey,
oh my goodness.
we're back.
Let me see this. Let me put this in my mouth.
Yeah, see, we just replaced it. Still has more sandwich to go. All right, so Ohio State, Indiana.
So good.
I believe I saw this from Zach Osterman, who covers the Hoosiers, that this is in the regular season the first time that it's ever been a top 10 versus top 10 matchup for Indiana, which that doesn't surprise me, but it's still crazy, and it's a mouthful, and it's 2020, because I didn't think that we'd be sitting here in mid-November talking about undefeated Indiana, undefeated Ohio State, and the
top 10 matchup.
East Division title would be on the line.
And it's not basketball we're talking about.
No, we're not talking about basketball.
Chris Holtman, first game, November 25th.
Yeah, it's coming up, right?
Go Buckeyes.
He broke that on Morning Juice, just FYI.
Yeah, nice plug
Just a
there for the
radio
Morning
show.
Juice. They're breaking news. They're competing, and then we're just taking them in here.
We're attacking and dominating. People are getting juiced out of their minds, sitting in traffic. Chris Holtman. Amazing. Buckeyes.
I'm sure people were really fired up to hear about that opener for the basketball team. And
wonder if road rage has went up since Schlegel's been on the morning drive. I would love to see some statistics on that.
That's going to be a good study. All right, so
that's a great job.
We've talked. Schleg said the margin is still here. We know that it's a 21-point favorite for Ohio State on Saturday. Coming off of that cancellation and that second half against Rutgers that we broke down last week, are there any concerns that you guys have for the Buckeyes this week? I know that it probably starts with Penix and the secondary. I watched him on Saturday against Michigan State. I'm not blown away by him. I think he makes mistakes that Ohio State will capitalize on. They've got a much better pass rush than anybody Indiana has faced. But you guys have a much better feel for that than I do. I just think the natural place to look is Ohio State giving up some plays in the passing game and what Penix might be able to do.
I mean, I don't know. On my end, the only thing that I could say that I'm worried about, I'm not really all that worried about it, guys, but I would say just like in defense, right, we're going to try to stop an offense, right? So let's try to make them one-dimensional. They got a good back. They probably got some good dudes up front. They might be able to move a couple by. All right, so let's make this quarterback beat us a little bit here. And to your point, he's making some mistakes. He's maybe not, seeing the bullets flying as fast as they have or they're going to be, this season. So, let's pigeonhole him. Let's figure out a way for him to beat us, essentially. But what that's asking of your defense is saying, hey, our corners and our safeties and secondary, just particular pass coverage, has got to play great. So if there's anything to worry about, it's just how they answer the bell. I feel good about it. But at the end of the day, right, there's been some concepts that we've had troubles with. Seeing it quickly, being able to react, play quick ball. That's what I would say, but I'm sure there'll be a little bit of an echo going on the bench here.
I like this quarterback. I don't think he throws a great. It's just weird.
Funky
it's like I want to say he doesn't throw a great ball, but he's accurate. But it just seems like it just takes an extra second for every ball to get to the receiver. Now I think he's done a decent job of finding the open guy and moving it. They like to just quick, or take their shots downfield after they set that kind of thing up. I don't. Concern isn't really the word, because even though I think they are going to score, I think they're going to score 20. I'm not going to give you guys my number now.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. But I think they're going to score some points. But there's really no concern. I mean, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because we give up. I don't think they're going to stop us. Right. I think we're going to be able to do whatever we want, put as many points on the board as we want to. And it's just going to be about, do they hit a quick one? Early in the first quarter, they get their 7 points. And then, later in this third quarter, do they pick up, where do they get those 20-some points from? I think it would be a nice test for our secondary. I don't think – even though Penn State was probably their closest game overtime, I thought Penn State had some edge rushers that could make life a little hectic. Didn't really against us.
Yeah. Oh, they didn't. And they didn't move the ball that well against Penn State.
No, they did. Yeah. Penn State defensively played them really solid.
Yeah, and they had some turnovers and whatnot, right? I think we will bring that type of game to them, and I don't think we will have any mistakes that maybe Penn State did. It's exciting. I want to see them play well. I wouldn't mind seeing them put up some points, and it'd be a 52-24 game or something like that.
Score.
I'm just throwing that out there.
The attempt bar at over under 50 attempts.
Yeah, well,
that was a weirdly specific tease there, Jay-Z.
I'm just saying.
Okay, something like that.
I think their offense will score some points, but they won't be able to stop us, and it is what it is, and. It's going to be another one of those Indiana games that we've seen in the past where they put up some points, but we beat them handily, and maybe the number doesn't look like it at the end, but, kind of like we've had this year. Thank you.
They're playing good ball, man. Football is still a game of momentum, and it's still a game of being.
And they're feeling good, man. They've had some big wins.
There you go.
Their coach has some black eyes, some chipped teeth. He celebrates like crazy with his team, which is awesome to see.
Yeah.
That you can tell his kids love playing for him, with the excitement they have with him in the locker room after the game. So, any given Saturday, right? But I just don't feel like they have – they're getting there, but I don't feel like they have the horses.
Yeah, the biggest thing defensively will be I think that they're going to try to keep everything in front of them. You can definitely see a lot more zone, and I think you're going to see more fire zone, which means 3 and 3, so you're going to be blitzing 5, having 6 deep. I can see that because you want to affect this guy, but if he gets out of the pocket and you're playing man, and this is what we saw back in the day under Coach Meyer and part of the man principles that we were doing defensively, you have guys' backs turned to the quarterback who can make plays and sustain a drive, and you don't want that, right? And so the number one thing will be, how do I get them in a second and third and long? right? And then just make those plays. But then if I'm a Indiana, like what's the one thing that you want to do to avoid a pass rush, right? You screen them. Like that's always been the habitual thing that Indiana did. Like, as a defensive guy, you're like, dadgummit, I hate this stupid game because all they're going to do is throw bubble screens and
you're getting upfield and all of a sudden you're going back this way.
But here's the thing, you got to run, right? So you got to run because you got to be in the picture so coach sees you in the picture. Then you got to run back and they're trying to play with tempo and you're just like, I just want to hit people inside the box. Crap on a stick, right? So they don't really run the football that well, but was it Freifogel or whatever his name is? He had over 200 yards.
Legit.
He had over 200 yards. So, I mean, it'll be a good test, defensively on our secondary. I want to see our guys, our defensive line, be able to get pressure. How do you get that up the middle, right? We're forcing him out of the pocket. Do we hold contain or does he break contain? That would be a big thing to watch. And then offensively, there's nobody in our conference that can hold a candlestick or potentially stop us if we don't stop ourselves. And that goes back to the penalties of which we had a week ago, right? That make you get behind the sticks and make you have to go get a 2nd and 20. Like this is going to be a good enough team that you can't get behind the sticks like that, or you're going to have some 3 and outs. So we got to be able to eliminate those mistakes of which we hurt ourselves. Keep doing what we do on offense, which is ball security, because they definitely, Penix had 2 picks, I believe, last game. He's going to give you some opportunities to make a play, have a shortened field. You got to capitalize on those things. So, and also, last thing is I want to see a way better special teams unit because we got burned on a couple ones, right? We had the throwback. We had
the trick plays.
Yeah, right. but I don't even care about trick plays. It's all about
your lane discipline and everything else.
Adjustments and alerts, right?
Like those are all leverage.
Just do your job, right? Do your job. Don't try to do more than your job, right? But do your job well. So I like to see those growing things. That's why we wanted the Maryland game. We wanted the Maryland game because that Maryland has some athletic guys. And again, it's another opportunity because what we're finding in the Big Ten is that everybody else is 7-0 and we're sitting here at 3-0. And it's like you remember the 2014 National Championship game where we were 4 games into the season after we got beat by Va Tech, and then 2 games after to where we were when you played a Wisconsin 59-0 and an Alabama and an Oregon. Right. I mean, we're talking like leaps and bounds, light years different than what you were, and the only way you're able to do that is because you had those type of games, right? So you need the real live bullet. So, whatever. No, it's Indiana.
I want to know your guys' opinion on this quarterback. Last week I thought Tua's brother would have probably given us a little bit more trouble on the ground.
I wanted to see that one.
Making plays, having his feet. Is this Penix guy? I don't.
Yeah, he can run.
I can't recall him breaking one where I saw we're going to have to worry about his speed, right? No. I feel like he's more of a.
I feel like he
wants to throw the ball first, right?
He's a short area quickness guy, right? Like he knows how to move around in the pocket well. He makes throws on the move well. Tua's little brother.
Tua's brother.
He's gonna go out there and he's gonna make some dudes miss.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like he's gonna get out there, he's gonna play some ball. Do a couple crossovers on a guy or two, and that makes that position more difficult to guard.
That's what I'm saying. Not having to really have that QB threat, where he's breaking off big ones, and we've seen that. Even the kid from Penn State. Yeah. Going into that game, you thought, man, they're going to probably run this quarterback a little bit and try and use him. I don't know if maybe Indiana does think that in the back of their head, that we haven't had to a ton. Maybe this is a game where they start and break that out.
Yeah. I think in the past they've, he couldn't play last year against Ohio State. He'd taken some hits.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I don't think that they.
It was Ramsey.
Yeah, they're not deep enough to risk that. Now maybe if you're putting everything into beating Ohio State, then you run Penix and you open up the playbook.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say. All those trick plays. Yeah, I'm sure they've been practicing because they're going to see something on Saturday.
Right.
Yeah. When it's 17-3 and they just seem like they can't get anything going, you're going to see a trick play or them pull something.
Fake punt. You're going to see all that stuff because it's going to be field position.
So all that work they've done in the last couple of weeks, trying to fix what happened at Rutgers, I think will come into play in this game as well.
Totally. No. And things that you said actually about not him running the ball, but we're on the topic talking about him throwing the ball and how it's a touch late. For me, like. I don't know. It's always weird, but it's weird watching the ball come off a lefty.
Hand. Yeah, and that might be what it is watching the lefty.
They could have seen that against Maryland like 2 weeks in a row, right?
Well,
there you go. That's true. It just always seems like his has
all these missed opportunities.
That's what I'm saying. But these are what reps are important. Yeah. That's what Schlegel was saying. Like two games after we played Va Tech, were we ready to go beat Wisconsin 59-0? Fuck no, right? Like we had to probably get out leveraged on kickoff a couple times. We had to get, we didn't set our basket or whatever Coach Meyer called it on punt on the right person a couple times, and we had a dude like laying on his face or something in the color red, and nobody saw him. But you got to have those reps a little bit to find ways to compete at the highest level.
Yeah, because you got to be in the live bullets. You got to have it to where the butterflies matter, right? It's one thing to be going competitive excellence one-on-one, and again, there's no better DBs than our DBs. There's no better wide receivers than our wide receivers that are going to play in our conference. Competitive excellence can only go so far, but you're also trying to keep them healthy, so the amount of reps they're going to get during a practice aren't going to be as much as they were receiving a game. And what is it really for, right? Like, yeah, it's your own pride and competitive excellence as a unit, but when it's in the game, it's your teammates and to win a football game, which is always difficult, right? So you do all of that, and you cannot replicate it. You can try to simulate the speed as much as you possibly can, but you can never replicate the game experience, right, without being in the game. And that's something that they lost, which is why I'm so upset that they took it away from them without doing the protocols. Anyways, I digress. I'm excited the fact that we have this game in this matchup, and that –
fingers crossed.
Somebody
last week we were sitting here saying the same thing, and then Wednesday, nope.
A game. Let's get A game.
Yeah, sure.
But for this one, let's assume nothing goes wrong. Indiana, Ohio State.
Yeah.
Prediction time. Nicole sent me hers. She couldn't be here this week.
What'd she say? Say it for the last.
I said, here's what you got. We're going to do – you have to give the player that you think needs to step up the most this week.
Oh, I don't know those.
Yeah, you gave like 5 examples in what you wanted to see this week. You said you wanted the
offensive
offensive
Harry Miller.
Yeah, say Harry Miller. There you go. I was going to tee it up for you since you had already done that yourself.
You're welcome.
Nicole said Garrett Wilson. She wants to see that record 100 yards.
Continue to go, yeah. It'll be 4 games if he gets this one, right?
He has to get 5 to tie it,
Got to
right?
get 5. She said he's going to stay on track, and she's got the score at 46-21.
Woo!
I liked it.
Know how sharp she's been through 3 weeks.
Sharp as a tack, that
That's
lady.
a 25-point win. That's also a cover for the Buckeyes.
I like it. They definitely didn't cover versus Rucker.
No, they didn't. Let's not talk about it. That was last week, okay? We're moving on.
All right, moving on.
Alignment.
I'm not going first.
Am I up?
What you want to go?
52-20.
52-17. And Harry Miller, you said, needs to.
Harry.
Okay.
Well, I would really like it if Justin Fields would get his head out of his.
Yeah, boy, he's struggling.
Man, I'll tell you what, that guy. If he could figure it out, we might be dangerous.
11 incomplete.
Yeah, I mean, what are we doing here? This guy. I didn't know we were going with someone who needs to pick it up, but I like Harry Miller. I want to see that offensive line kind of get it together. I would love to see
interior D line.
I would love to see the offensive line just
feelings.
crush some holes. Let these running backs actually see some daylight or get to those holes and have some big runs like we kind of saw in the fourth quarter maybe, where Trey Sermon got going a little bit and a couple big runs right before he went down. So I would like to see our O-line come out and play better, and I think they will, and I'm going to go 49-24.
Okay, I said, 52-17? Okay.
Yeah. I got
20.
Sean Wade, man. At the end of the day, for me, what it's going to be about is I want to see him develop that personality out there, right? I mean, so much. I mean, he's a great athlete. He's probably going to be better than most of the receivers he goes up against. But, I want to see that, not getting in the face
Don't
of
throw
receivers,
it at me type thing,
but
better.
Something that you can see on film, like, oh, damn, he plays ball. You know what I mean? We can't go to his side because he's got it locked down. I want to see some of that type of ball, right? Like, stand up. No, not over here. A running back comes out here and go in there, put your nose in there, make a tackle.
Now, is he going to?
Of course not. But he's not a Damon Arnett, right?
He's not.
Meaning personality.
They need someone to be Damon.
But somebody is going to need to be guarding this Freifolger or whatever the guy's name is.
Christian Bryant. When I was there.
CB was fantastic.
But you go through it, right? And you need the dude back
part of the attitude of being that guy, in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of that number one cornerback saying, don't throw to me. Quarterbacks and those guys would be talking crap during one-on-ones, they want to.
Somebody has to learn who to be that guy. Like, AJ was never a raw guy, right? AJ was just...
He didn't need to be with you and Bobby.
Exactly.
He probably wanted to be, but he's like, these damn guys, I can't say anything.
I ain't saying nothing.
I'm gonna play the quiet
Bobby
role.
always talks. It's like, Schlegels, go get Bob. I was like, okay, I will, right? Like, hold him back. But, I think that part of Sean's deal, and it's funny that his dad, Randy, was talking about it, but it's like, hey, just go do your job. Like, you don't have to get a pick every single time. Like, it's okay to get a PBU, right? So just know how to do your job. And I think that's something that you grow into with confidence by being in the position.
100% is.
And to where you want that ball thrown to your side and at you, and you want to go be able to make that play, so you cherish that. And you're right. I don't know who that is, because sometimes when you get like a young group, like I remember we were replacing 4 starters. Yep. Like he wasn't the 4th starter. He was the nickel guy, right? So you're replacing 4 guys.
Yeah, but he's also the guy that came back. And usually when they come back.
Nickel's way different.
But he's
than
the
Malcolm
fifth guy.
Corner,
I do agree, but you're coming back. You should have went to the, you could have went to the draft. You're coming back.
True.
You're usually that guy that's all right. Listen, I got this side on lockdown. Don't you guys worry about you.
But some of that is a training. Some of the time, some of that.
No,
is,
I know it doesn't just happen overnight, but we kind of thought it would.
True.
I mean, it's happened in the last 3 or 4 years.
He's got a great opportunity to do it tonight.
This weekend.
If you remember him last year, I mean, he was a phenomenal nickel corner.
No doubt.
Oh, hell yeah,
right?
he was.
And when you took him off the
Still
field,
might be his position, Mike.
I mean, it was a difference maker, right?
He was a
and he
difference
really
maker,
still didn't have like that kind of. He just was like kind of silent, subtle, just did his job. But you're right though. Like the great units always have a balancing act. Right there, whether it was a safety, right? Malcolm played corner here, but like he had a little bit of that. Nate Sally was always very cheerful. Like Nate Sally had an unbelievable smile all the time.
All the time.
That wasn't Nate's, persona.
But he had Dante Whitner, who was
right. You know what I'm saying? So it was like in that. We had Ashton Yabodi, right? Like on that, like and Everett, like that was more him than it was Ashton, right? So it takes that. But how do you find that? Well, you find it in the heat of the game. And that moxie of what we're trying to do. And that's kind of where we lost a little bit of that in the beginning of the year when we haven't had all these games. So hopefully he finds it because this is a big time. It's a big time.
We're missing out on some big games for our secondary because I think last week would have been a test.
Yeah.
I mean, they had some players on the outside. They had a quarterback that could sling it. And so, I think that was a big miss.
Yep. It is.
They'll get it this week.
And that's why
we all want our money back, Maryland.
Yeah, Maryland.
Big Ten.
All right, my pick time. Hold on.
All right,
Sorry, you got to go.
40.
What did you say?
We got
49-24.
Evan took us down a good road.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
49-31.
Ooh, okay.
They're gonna put up a little bit of.
You're gonna get that late one that I didn't give him.
The old backdoor.
Backdoor bandit, this guy.
Gotta watch out for that
Should
guy.
have gone like first all the other ones.
Gotta watch out for that guy.
For this guy.
You know who else can do that? Who actually has some of that Damon Arnett edge is Josh Proctor, and I don't know where, when, how the best way is. Marcus, I'll just lump them together. Marcus Hooker did not play very well in the second half against Rutgers. He's missed a lot of tackles this year. One thing that Jordan Fuller did exceptionally well was get a play on the ground.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can't have that. So I don't know if Josh Proctor needs to play more of that single high look. If Ohio State just really likes his athleticism to keep moving him around and playing him in the slot at times, or doing some corner work or filling the box against the run. I mean, he's doing that very well. So when you're talking about the give and take Schlegs, it's hard for me to wrap my mind around who needs to be where in this secondary. Yeah. Again, that's a thing that you would have wanted to see against Maryland, or you would have worked out in the non-conference. Because I would say right now, this is not the best version of Ohio State's secondary. And Kerry Combs figured it out many times before, and he will again. But
they got dudes.
But they have the talent to work with. That's not an issue.
Proctor fills, right? When we need a physical play, his ass is down there hitting somebody. There's been a couple of times I'm yelling at the TV, like, I need to see somebody get the shit knocked out of him. Proctor comes out of nowhere and does it. So, I love that. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, man, it's, football is a physical game, right? If I'm a receiver and I'm going out against a quarter that I don't hear say anything the entire game, I build confidence throughout the game. It's just kind of is what it is, right? Now, do I need him out there doing something that isn't him, saying something that isn't him? No, because he starts making mistakes. But, have a little pissed off attitude to you. Go out there and be the best dude. Be the best dude.
Mick said this, if I have nothing to prove, I'll never improve, right? So you always got to play with that chip on your shoulder, right? So that's a good thing, right? Because I want to strain a little bit more. So, anyways, go Bucks.
All right, 56-20, Ohio State wins on Saturday.
56-20.
I said 52-17, 56-20.
49-24.
Yeah, you don't count.
Evan's got the Hoosiers at the backdoor cover, though, so it's
not
unanimous this week. Nicole Cox again has it 46-21. She's been dead on all week. Appreciate Evan, Spencer, Justin Zwick, and Anthony Schlegel, as always, for hanging out with me on Lettermen Live, brought to you by Roosters. It's been a fun, casual conversation. I'm just Austin Ward. We'll see you next week.